Hey folks, KR King here, helping you homebrew your own D&D campaign. So today I'm going to be creating a sea cave map as part of my ongoing series on a treasure map. This is kind of the end point of Salazan's treasure map, where he and his compatriots hid their huge amount of booty that they got. And I'm going to be using the Dungeondraft software package. I've done some videos on this before. I really like Dungeondraft because it's a one-time charge, 20 bucks, and they update it quite regularly. And you can add all sorts of custom components to it if you'd like. You can get these from third-party vendors or make them yourselves, actually, which I'm going to cover in a future video. Today I'm going to use just the basic software, the basic components. And the sea cave, the reason I picked this was a sea cave is formed by the ocean going in and out, along a rock face of a shoreline. And it has kind of a unique characteristics in terms of caverns in that the accessibility of the cavern changes at the time of day. So at low tide, you can get into the sea cave, move around, and then as high tide comes up, it can be completely flooded. Or as what I'm doing is, you're going to have chambers up above, higher up, that aren't flooded, but if you're inside when the tide comes in, you could be trapped there or be forced to go out through the surging tide. And it creates a unique environment in terms of what lives there. You have this combination of sort of sea and land creatures. Some of the features, like a blowhole that comes up through the top of a cliff face, which I'm going to use in this video. Okay, so as always, I like to dive into the computer. So let's go make our sea cave. All right, so now we're in Dungeondraft. I'm going to start a new file. These are the default sizes, 48 tiles, 27. My width is going to be 5 feet per tile. So I'm just going to customize this, and I'm going to say 75 by 50. And the reason I'm doing that is that I think that gives me enough, width and depth to create a cool sea cave. And you don't want to if you get too big, then it starts to break down a little bit. It takes too long. Let's see here. So I'm going to start in my terrain. Let's see here. What do I want? So you have these biome settings. Let's say we do mountain. And this is the default is grass. I'm not sure I like that. There's dirt. This is kind of the basic terrain. And since I am in a rocky area, maybe I'll start with that. And now I'm going to create some water. Oops. And just my coastline. All right, now the next thing that I want to do here is establish this cliff face. All right, so I'm going to do this, and I'm going to set this, turn my snap off down here so I can have some freedom. I'm going to set it to the highest setting, which is a 5 width. And I'm going to kind of go like this, and I'm going to follow the coastline that I created. And I'm putting, notice, the lighter colored cliff at the top. Not sure what that's supposed to mean, but that's the way I always do it. I notice there are little rocks here at the bottom. So I've always assumed that must be the bottom of the cliff. And there you go. Now, if you want to make that thicker, of course, you just take another section. I keep messing that up. Like so. However, and basically, the more distance there is, the wider this cliff face is, means the less steep it is. But that might be working well because you are going to have some handholds here to go down this cliff face. So right now what we've got, and you can calculate it out, you've got points here, a cliff face that is 10, 20, 30, 35 feet wide from the top of the cliff down to the bottom. That's its angle. All right, so I've got this set up. Now I got all this territory up here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some cliffs. I'm going to have some elevation up in here. Let's say some rocks. Now the rocks in this, the default rocks are okay. You know, what you can do is if you press shift and roll, it cycles through. See over here on the side, it's cycling through all the different rocks. So one of the things that you can do is and you rotate it with just the mouse roller. You can set a rock, go to another size, whatever you want. The other thing that you can do down here is these piles of rock. Like so. And maybe I'll have some consistency here. I will grab these, get rid of those, go back to object. And then I'm going to add, I kind of want, not much grows on this cliff. And if you want to make this higher or lower, again, with the path tool, you can increase this slightly. Okay, and there is our basic terrain. And again, I'm doing this quickly just for examples, but there's our basic terrain. So where is going, my sea cave entrance? And I'm going to call this level high tide, right? And so the sea cave is going to be covered up. And again, a couple of other things I just want to do here. I'm not going to go into too much with this, but in your terrain brush, if you come down here and you pick, let's say, gravel, and you kind of go in here. Now, at the bottom of these cliffs, you might have some gravel that accumulates, right? And I'm going to have smooth blending on this. I like the way that looks. And I'm just going to run in here. And if you increase your intensity, it'll happen faster. And I'm just going to put gravel along the bottoms of these cliffs because I think, they would accumulate over the years, right? Gravel falls from the base, from the top of the cliff to the base. You would have some along here. So it puts it in under the water here. And if you want, you can go in here and water. If you say press Alt, you can create little areas of rock. And you may want to put rocks on that. And I am going to put some gravel. The hell, just to even things out. And another thing you can do with the object, you can go like this, and you can grab those objects, Control-C, Control-V, and they all stay together. Control-V again. Right? And you can turn these to just give it a little bit of a different view here. If you're like that, Control-V again, it'll appear right near you. And you can take individual things of this and move them around as well. If you don't like the way that looks. Like so. All right, so now I have my basic map. I am going to save because I have not saved yet. Alrighty, and I'm going to go here. Where am I going to do this to? I'll just go to Documents, Save As. sea cave map 1. Save. So obviously, on the treasure map, it says that they're going to spot the sea cave based on this dagger rock that's obviously far down to the south of this cliff face. But I'm also, I think, going to put something here. And I'm noticing there's this little area right in here. Maybe I will create with objects. Let's see here. Or maybe with path. I'll go path and I'll have like a chain that they create. And it runs down this cliff face. And this is what they used to, this is going to mark this here. Now, would it be here after 150 years? Maybe it's broken. Maybe there's just fragments of it. In fact, what I can do is I could have this little pieces of this where it's fallen apart. This is what they use to get down. And then I'll put objects. Maybe I'll use this instead of true anvil. These are like spikes that they put in. That's what's holding these. You know, they just sort of look like they could be spikes. And again, this is a visual thing. The players are not going to be able to use this chain to get down. It's too old. But it indicates that here at low tide is the access to the sea cave. All right. And in order to show this, now there's a couple things here. So I'm going to save. You could create an additional level. Oops, sorry. Okay, so we have our ground level. And I'm going to create another level. I'm going to call this low tide. And I'm going to clone the ground level. Okay, so accept. And if you look down here, I'm at low tide on my level indicator. So what I could do is simply remove water in here. If you want to be really technical about it, oops, that's the other way around. Let's see. These get bigger because they're going to climb down or levitate or do something down this cliff face. At low tide, they are going to have an opportunity here to, I'm going to make this a little. So now I have this new level. I have this, and this is what they're going to wait for so that they can land here. So again, I'm going to save. And in fact, now that I think about it here, maybe this was a ladder of some kind. Now I'm going to make my sea cave. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this level for one, the low tide sea cave. Then I'm going to have another level, the high tide sea cave, basically flooded, right? And then I will have other levels for, you know, the sea caves as we go up this 100-foot cliff into higher levels. All right, so we go to level settings, and we're going to create, and we're going to say sea cave, low tide. And of course, we're going to accept that. Then, because we're not going to see any of the cliffs or any of this stuff on this level, I'm going to go through, grab my objects. I'm going to delete those. All right, so now I just have to get rid of this cliff face because you wouldn't see that. Oh, there we go. And that should be, oh, I got all these little chains here and stuff. So I will just go around like that. And those are gone. Okay. So now I have my base map for my cavern level. This is, again, low tide. So I go to my cavern cave brush, put it on large. I'll come in here. Of course, now, let's see, compare levels. I will compare it to low tide here, just to see. Oh, it's right here. So this is where I want to start this. Okay. And I'm going to start that like that. Now I don't have to have that comparison. I can see it. And when you have this color on here, the nice thing that it allows you to do, change it right while you're looking at it, which I think is a nice little feature. What do you want this to be? You know, and you can go down like this if you want, but it's not going to be. So I'm going to just make that like so. And you can also change the wall color as well. However you want to do that. Maybe like that. Okay. Accept. And obviously this breaks out into the beach. You use the blast feature here. So now you've got this ready to go. And it's just a matter of, and look at how much room we've got on here to create this cave. I'm just going to say this water comes up through here and then opens into a chamber like this. Here's another thing. You could have a little bit of water still left in spots. Go to the smallest, you know, and just have a little trickles in here that are always left, and maybe even something along like this. Not going to be super deep, right? But some water may go there. And by the way, this terrain all through here is going to be very difficult because it's going to be always slick with water. All right? So then we've got this. This might be where I will have some caverns that go off from here, right? And again, we're not worried about necessarily realism here. Just this water finds the weakest spot and goes like this. Okay? And then maybe it, you know, we have some chambers. Now, the next thing that I want to do is, obviously, Salazin's going to have some clues as to you come in here, and this would be in the book, not necessarily on the map, because what he was hiding was the location of the sea cave, but in the book, perhaps he says, when you enter, you make the first right, and you go down here, and you know he tells you where you need to go, and in here there will be a chute, and we might have several of these. This is areas where it goes up. So when we make a next level, we'll start here. So I'm going to save my file. First, I think I might add just a little more water. Now what I'm going to do is, I've got this level saved. I'm going to create some chutes that go straight up where the water then is forced upwards. It finds a fissure and it's stored upwards. And I'm going to use an object tool. And what I've got here is a hole. Now, technically, this isn't a hole. And again, I'm just using the basic library. There's all sorts of custom assets. I'm going to talk about that in another video, custom assets you can get. But I'm just going to use, you know, what's available here. And so I'm going to create, I'm just going to say here, and we'll go here, and maybe, what the heck, here. Now, I'm going to want to say, I want to label these, right? You can change your, you know, whatever you want. Let's cool it. Again, this is for my information when I'm running the thing. And of course, you can put all sorts of, you can write down if you want what's in each thing. I prefer to do that. There we go. And then I'm going to save, as always. Okay, I'm going to create a sea cave high tide map. Sea cave high tide. And I'm going to clone sea cave low. In this case, it's just totally flooded, right? Okay. All right, actually, I'm going to make some changes here in this because I realize that I want to, I'm going to call this level 2, and I'm going to give a height on this of 40 feet. When the players come in here, as I said, this is difficult terrain. It's very wet. I'm also going to put some things in here. So, these are 5-foot squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That would be, 3 would be one turn. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, blah, blah, blah. It's going to take a while. And of course, how long are you going to give them? What is, low tide where this sea cave is accessible? Do you give them an hour? Do you give them 2 hours? What do you do? And also, if they have encounters and stuff, actually, I think I'm going to change this. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make this chute go all the way to surface. It will be a, classic blowhole, except that it'll be old. It'll be from different storms and things that occurred a long time ago, so that it won't necessarily be blowing when the players are there. They might still detect it because I want to have a little escape route. Because I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this cave inhabited by a chul, or maybe more than one chul. These are the crab creatures that have given sentience by the aboleth, eons ago. And because I have this treasure here, one of them perhaps swept in a great storm into this cave and detected this magic, and because it's sort of an automaton, created to guard treasure, it has stayed here. All right, so now I'm going to I'm going to create another level here. This will be level 2. I'm not going to be cloning another level. And I'm going to compare this to sea cave number 2, so that, or actually high, I'll do low tide. Just so when I draw this, and let's see, I think what I want to do, now let's look at this. I think I wanted that a little grayer. There we go. And I'll have the walls like that. Let's not compare levels. Okay, and this is where I am going to put the great treasure. I'm just indicating this. Will it be sitting in the center of the room? Maybe you know, they would move it here because they're trying to protect it. These jewels pile a bunch of boulders up and whatnot. To protect their treasure. And then we've got to put these corresponding chutes in here. Let's compare here to, say, low tide. See these two, go to our object, go to use. If you say all, but if you go to use, it'll have these ones that you had on here. And just put that on the right size. All right, turn that off. Now you've got your corresponding holes. So there you have the treasure level ready to go. The last thing that I need to do is, let's see here. I want to go to CK below, ground level. And I want to, just because I put that, let's just do this. I made that chute up to this level here, right? Up on this ridge. I like the fact that it's up high on this ridge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an object there. I'm going to put this hole there, but I think it's going to be smaller when it gets to the top. So I'm going to Alt down, put it about there. And then I'm going to turn off. So I've got this hole here, and I'm just going to put some rocks around here. You know, that just like so. Do the players notice that? Do you make a noise there? You know, I'm thinking of it as an escape route. There you go. And that should be ready to go. All right, so there you have a sea cave made with the Dungeondraft software. That's the end point of an adventure for the players. The next video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the 6 mile hex. That's this peninsula, because I think that, you know, a 6 mile hex, oftentimes we forget, if you use hex mapping like I do, just how much territory is contained in there. But until then, if you like what you've seen, please subscribe to my channel, because I'm always looking for more. And leave some comments. I love to read them and to answer them. But most importantly, my friends, keep playing D&D and tell somebody else about it.